to City of Thomaston meeting. We'll start the meeting at 7, call to order. We have people here and some people live streaming. Bear with us as we try to do this. It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. You stand. I'll lead us with a word of prayer, and we'll say, pledge to the flag. Lord, we just thank you for all you've done for us, Lord, and we just thank you for bringing us here, Lord. Lord, it's at difficult times, Lord. We just lift up this whole community, this whole nation, this whole world, Lord, just to you, because we know you be with them and comfort them and be with all those that are working at the hospitals and throughout our community, trying to help the ones with difficulty. It is in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Hopefully there's not too much of a delay between us and the ones online. We got Miss Lakeitha and Don are here, along with Joel, Russell. Miss Gail's back there. We got Jeff, Ryan, and Doug, along with our, I guess that's our city engineer or something on his face. Can't figure that what that is. So, well, first matter on the agenda is the approval of the March 3rd regular meeting, the March 27th called, and the April 1st called meeting. You've been handed these minutes. Right here, a motion.
So ordered.
A motion here, second. Motion in a second. Ms. Gail, would you call the vote?
Councilmember Rittenhouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucker.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yes.
Yeah, it's delayed will be different. Yeah, get used something to get used to. Next is the adoption of the agenda. Russell, you have anything to add or take off this?
Councilmember Tucker.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yes.
Okay, we can just do it. All right, next item is public comment and announcements. Since this is kind of extraordinary circumstances and all, we don't, not that we don't want the public to comment on any of this stuff, we're trying to minimize the number of people here for right now. We need to.
I think the proper thing to do, Mayor, would be a motion to suspend public comment until we come out from under this declared emergency and we can meet in group.
You've heard the recognition that we authorize suspension of public comment until we can come out of this thing. Do I hear any motion?
So ordered.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
This is a point of order. Public comment is added at the pleasure of Mayor and Council. If you look at section 227 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances, it specifies the order of business. Public comment is specifically laid out in Rule 9 and Rule 10 in terms of manner of addressing council and eligibility to address council. So it would be appropriate at this time to have a motion to suspend public comment.
Any further comments? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. We'll call for a vote.
Councilmember Rittenhouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves. Yes. Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucker.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yes.
Next item is the city attorney's report.
I don't have anything But I do have one report, we closed on the transaction for, the round.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a quick update on a couple of projects. USDA, the wastewater plant rehabilitations and the Town Branch Interceptor project is moving full speed. We hope to be finished with engineering design, ready to bid in May. Sidewalk project at Greatest Generation Park is moving along. Contractors out there, we're keeping up with that on the daily. Stormwater mapping as part of the drainage project is nearly complete. We've collected about 75% of the city and are finalizing that in the coming weeks. And then finally, the CDBG project, we've been working to bring the price within budget, and it does look like that DCA is going to consider an amendment to that scope for us. We're pulling together a short report and sending it to them for their consideration. That's all.
Thank you. All right, now we move to the city manager's report.
First item for council's consideration is the approval of any various appointments or nominations that the city council may want to have, specifically for the Thomaston Tree Board and the Zoning Commission. If we have nominations, we'll entertain those now, Mayor.
Does anyone have any nominations at this time?
If not, the next item for council's consideration is the discussion of a mutually agreed upon project between the city and community enterprises. Just to reiterate to the city council, we are holding about somewhere between $218,000. So told them, we met with them, told them we would bring it to council for your consideration. And if you're in agreement, then we will reach back out to them and notify them that we can start with, consultants or designers for that project. But told them I'd bring it to the council for your consideration.
Say it again, you said a memorial to the textile workers?
It was twofold. One, to the Greatest Generation, the people I believe who served in World War II, and also to the textile workers.
As they contributed at the home front while the soldiers were away. We also recently, we just got, be getting the thing from the big gun, what is it?
Howitzer.
Yes, from the VFW down there. That may or may not be incorporated into the design of the thing, but I think this is a good project for us to do. It'll really look good up there at the park, and I think everybody will agree upon this. So, do we need a motion?
Probably.
For formality to
Proper, yeah.
Do I hear a motion to for this approved project?
Hey, JD.
Yes. Yes, Doug.
I just want to ask a question. So, their amount is probably within budget.
Yeah, and I guess staff's recommendation, if council is in agreement, would be to authorize the appropriate use of the funds as mutually agreed upon between the city and community enterprises for a project.
We got a motion from Doug, I guess a second from Ryan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Councilman Roadhouse.
Aye.
Councilman Reed.
Yes.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucker.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yeah.
The next item for council's consideration is an update and general discussion on our road prioritization list. In speaking with the finance department and also with the county, we are to the point under the T-SPLOST proceeds where we're starting to receive some of those monies. In our projection, we should bring in between 1.2, 1.4 million dollars, by the end of the bond cycle, at which point the money will be, going back to debt service on the county's bond. So as we're approaching paving, season, we wanted to take a look at the grading criteria that we had, try to revamp it for city council and get your input and thought process on how we proceed with picking the roads and streets for pavement. You should have a copy attached or headed with your packet. This pink and blue. Oh, y'all can see I'm holding it the wrong way. Looks something like that. So what you have here, and Trey can fill in the gaps. When we had the roads graded and prioritized a couple of years back, we looked at just a physical condition of the asphalt only. Then there was some question as to whether or not we needed to consider what type of...
kind of how we're looking at the criteria. Like Russell said, one is the physical scoring or the health of the road, if you will. That's the first column, and that was a 0 to 100 scale. The lower is the worst score, okay? What we're trying to take into account is a weighting criteria that would take into account just that factor plus other factors, such as traffic, that Russell said. So what you're seeing there is our attempt at taking the physical with a 65% weight. Did somebody say something? Okay. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Traffic, we looked at, we assigned a daily traffic total to every road in the city and assigned a 25% weighting factor on that. If there's more traffic on the road, we're actually having that score as a more important road for us to try to consider paving. And then the last item, which is really the point of the most discussion, I believe, is what we're calling criticality. Council members' district preference, something such as that. Russell came up with the idea of trying to have where each council member would be able to score their roads within their district some number of points as to their preference based on complaints and just y'all's concern. So that was given a 10% weighting factor. I'll put this up for discussion. But as a 10% weighting factor, we could do something where
we're going to look at three factors, one of which is actually the physical condition of the asphalt. The second of which is the amount of cars that travel on that street. And then there's a third criteria where we would allow council some input with regards to the streets in their district. But those are not three equal parts. We're weighting, physical condition at 65%, traffic at 25%, and council interpretation at 10%. Now these are just, they're somewhat arbitrary, but we did the best we could in the approach we took. But these weighting metrics can actually be changed. Like if you want, physical condition and road travel to be 40-40, and then another 20 to council, all of that can be worked out. But what we wanted to do was to give council a process that wasn't solely determinant upon the physical grading of the asphalt. Just wanted to make sure you liked this structure, and if so, we could proceed so that we can generate our paving list as we get into warm weather. Hopefully things will get a little bit better around town and we can get to paving some streets. One question I did have for Trey, and maybe you can answer this. On the physical assessment side, the lower the score is the worst, right?
That's correct.
All right, so why wouldn't it be that the more cars...
It is, and I've changed this, Russell. It's confusing, but engineers and tables, they don't always spit out. It is reflecting the higher cars is the lower score, even though it doesn't show that exactly.
Okay.
Just trust me.
So for council's edification, what you need to take away, don't look at the street and how they're actually graded on this list. Think of the 3 grading criteria. We have asphalt assessment, we have
We're actually taking, in the calculation for overall scoring, we actually take 1 minus that number. It's confusing, but we flipped it correctly in the calculation for overall. So that actually is scaled properly. You understand?
Yeah, I got you.
So how do we?
It's good.
Go ahead.
In other words, what we're saying on these roads, the scoring, it don't matter. It don't really mean anything, right? The scoring.
Well, the scores will matter. What we're saying is we want some, when we pave roads, we have to have some determinant factor as to how we choose which roads to pave. Before, the old way, we just looked at asphalt condition. Now, instead of just asphalt condition, we're actually looking at asphalt condition and traffic count on the road, and we want to add a third criteria where council would have some input. How those 3 sectors are weighted is completely up to council. We just wanted to build a mechanism that took all of those 3 factors into account.
How do we come up with the traffic?
And Russell,
Trey, are these GDOT publicized traffic counts?
yes, and what we did is, GDOT did a pretty good job of having a lot of these traffic counts on hand, and then we applied, like for instance, if they had traffic count through a neighborhood, we would apply a similar number to other secondary roads throughout that area. So, but I think we had probably half the roads that had a daily traffic count from GDOT, so that was very helpful. To give you an idea, folks, of why this is why we're doing this, is just visualize, if you will, a little alley road that is only traveled by 1 car per year, yet is in the worst shape in the city. Well, it's important to have those with the highest amount of attention, where we have these highly traveled roads that are lacking attention comparatively. So we're trying to let that traffic value have some part. We don't want it to have 100%, and we don't necessarily want it to have equal value to the physical. And then that which every one of you council members deals with, and y'all know the parts of the district that continually get complaints. Maybe the physical approach, it just didn't come out quite right in your vision, or the physical ranking ended up not showing what you would like it to show, or the traffic count doesn't really tell the whole tale. What we're looking for is this last item to be able to give a little more of an aesthetic appeal, a gut feel type of appeal to the ranking.
So I guess my question for the city council is how do you like that approach with regards to prioritization? How do you feel about the weighting criteria? And any advice or tasking for staff to proceed with putting a final version of something like this together for your review and blessing?
Hey, Russell, let me just ask a question. So when you put all the scores together and you got the critical at the end, overall, West Walker Street is the one that puts to the top of the list. It might not necessarily be in the worst shape, but given all the criteria added together and weighted, it's the one that appears at the top of the list.
How much influence do you want on political determination versus asphalt integrity versus traffic count? And that's what we're trying to determine.
I'll add in there that West Walker was completed last year, or 2 years ago, so it actually will score much higher now. We're using the old scoring criteria, just so you know.
Now, anything that has been paved with LMIG in the previous years will be, removed, recalculated, but not for consideration immediately. council have any thought or comment with regard to the 3 criteria, or you like the weighting? Or do you want?
One of the main reasons we did this was to try to take out political preference, where somebody couldn't just say, I want my road done, and it.
Right.
But this put that a little bit in there, but not.
A little bit, but you still have 90% weighted when you tie the asphalt condition and traffic count. This
Kinda
was,
like that.
we tried to build the perfect calculator for an imperfect methodology.
Let me ask you, what would determine, how would we determine what road would need to be paved? How would we go in order in that fashion?
That is all preference of the city council prior to the let. But back to the mayor's point, I want to build council a system or a calculation that you're comfortable with, that once we put the data into the model and we take into consideration, you know, your thoughts and your constituents' concerns, the asphalt integrity and the traffic count, then we kind of go by the list. Ultimately, whatever roads council wishes to pave, will pave. We just wanted something, you know,
It's a failed grade, but if you notice East Lee Street is an example, this works, it's a 66, and if you just scan down, you've got 36s and 57s and 54s down at Fitnical, but notice when traffic comes in, even at only a 35 or 25% traffic ranking, and with all the third column equal, notice how it's shifted around. In years past, we would have just done Pinedale because it was a 36. Right or wrong, folks. I mean, we're kind of just proposing this. This is kind of a draft form. Get your head around it, and we can kind of see how the chips fall. But just that gives a good example of how we've got a 66 that's moved at the top because of traffic. 66 is still a failure. It's still not a good ranking overall. We'd like to see our roads in the 80s.
What I would like council to do is take this data back, try to digest it. I have some maps where you can spatially see these roads that I'll provide to you. Look at it, think about the criteria, and sometime next meeting or maybe the next meeting after, we'll include it on the agenda. And bring this back for some sort of formalized a vote on a process, so we can go forward and finalize the calculation. Is that agreeable?
We're fine with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yes.
All right, the next item for council's consideration is actually discussion and an update on a water tank, specifically a fire tank situation we have at Standard Textile. Take you back, I don't know, 20, 30 years. How long has it been, Joel?
We bought the
process. The city of Thomaston came into acquisition of this tank, whose sole purpose was to provide water supply and a pump to provide pressurization on a loop that is owned, or was it at the time owned, by one entity. During the bankruptcy or thereafter, those properties have split. So what you have is you have an old mill site that used to be one mill that had its own fire tank, its own fire pump, its own fire loop that went around the whole mill. And that's how they provided their fire suppression. Well, since then, the city owns the tank. We own 10 feet out. Then I have 3 separate industries which are on a private fire loop, all of whom own a specific piece of that loop. We were approached by Standard Textile. They had some question about their insurance requirements and wanted a better solution due to the condition of the fire tank. And we're in the process of wading that through. Standard Textile, I think they're ready to go. What the city has proposed is to provide a free tap, a water tap to the entities where they could tie in and provide their own pressurized system. We would just be then providing flow to the entities. Water tap for an industry who in turn wants to redirect or turn off part of a fire loop that indirectly feeds a secondary industry down the line. So we're trying to work out scenarios for all industries on the private fire, but there's gonna be some money spent. In the bargain for the city, or the good position for the city is that in talking with our water operators, us owning a fire tank and being responsible for pressurizing a private loop that multiple entities are off of is a very, very libelous situation for the city to be in. And talking with my water provider, and Trey, you can comment on this as well, but he is not aware of any other city or any other situation whereby the city is providing this type of service. So it behooves the city to provide these taps, to move these industries onto their own separate fire suppression systems with pressurized water for their sprinklers. Trey, did I miss anything? Do you want to add anything on that?
No, you've said it all.
So just for update, for council, that issue is going on. If you do get any calls or questions, you can call me and ask about it. Our water operator, Mr. Brian Kelly, was in contact with representatives from Thomas today, and so hopefully we're speeding those things along. So in absence of any questions regarding that, Mayor, we'll move on to the next item. Does council have any questions regarding that?
I'll come later and talk to you about it.
Okay. Next item for council's consideration is just a general update on the fire department. We've had multiple conversations about the construction of the site, where it would be, what it wouldn't be, how much it was gonna cost. And we're kind of getting to crunch time with regards to directions to both our site engineer and our architect on how we want to proceed with the construction. Furnitures and fixings were put in there at $3,023,000. We pared back on the square footage, changed a little bit of the maneuvering. We brought that into a $2.5 million project. About midstream through the design, we did receive formal notification from Pardons and Paroles that they will be exiting the old municipal building June 30th. That is the building that is on site. Since we did receive that notification, we went back to our engineers and architects, asked them to incorporate the use of the old municipal building. And that will be highlighted as item 2 in the email PDF that I sent you. You'll be able to see what that looks like. It uses the square footage of the old municipal building, a renovation. Then there's a transitional stage, and then it goes into a bay area. These are back-end bays. It's not specifically what the chief wanted. And then item 2, I've got you a cost estimate for that construction with a renovation and a building of new bays, and that came in just north of $2,038,000. So I've got a project right now somewhere between $2 million and $3 million. But before, I need to be able to give some guidance to our architects so that we can finalize plans for construction, going to design and construct. Another thought, or wrinkle in the process has been the intent of this process all along has been to issue a bond for the construction of the fire department. And depending upon who you talk to, how does that impact council's appetite for the levying of property tax for the construction of the fire department? And we don't have, a lot of time to make these decisions if we are going to proceed with the timeline we set in place. We can put it on hold, we can nix it, we can proceed, but I'm looking to city council for some comfort level in terms of financial contribution, in terms of appropriation for this construction project. So are we at, if we're at 2.5, I can build you a fire station for 2.5. If we're at 2, I can build you at 2. You know, you start getting below 2, and then that greatly changes. Now we're getting in a total redesign. So wanted to bring that up because I do have architects moving full speed ahead on the original design development to put out the bid. So I either need to back them off, I need to change strategy, or proceed.
We have a drop dead date, like we need to know by.
I mean, we can postpone the project. I can stop everything where we are. You know, we can reach back out to the ambulance service. You know, try to get another year on our temporary housing. But at some point, we have identified the need to replace a fire station that was built in 1967. So whatever the council wants to do.
Options are available for us. Just so we have all of the knowledge that, at our fingertips, make the best decision we can. And I guess my second question is, if you pared it down to 2 million, would the full mill still be needed to defeat the debt?
It depends, Ron, because one, the answer to your first question is yes. I can reach out to the ambulance service, and I would think that they would be gracious enough to extend that to allow us to house our ladder truck there. With regards to your second question, yes, I believe if you stuck strictly to a revised construction budget of $2 million, you could roll that back. But the $2 million that I proposed, or that you have a rendering on, it's kind of got a back-end situation for the fire bays. If you wanted to use the old municipal building and still do drive-through, we can do that, but that adds more cost in constructing a drive. We're looking at additional square footage reductions, and one of the things, I would like is if you do construction or renovation of the old municipal building, that is only based on the upstairs. We really need to think about expending some money at least to freshen up that basement. I don't know if y'all have been out there. Long explanation to answer your question. Yes, if you give me a $2 million.
I think we ought to get the chief's, opinion on this as well. I know she's ready to get out of that space, but and I feel like we need to do something. But we certainly
willing to proceed, and a lot of that is dictated by the construction budget.
I think we need to go forward with it. I think that's something we need to do about that fire station, and just, I hope all the councilmen agree with me, but I just think that's something we need to do, and I think we need to go forward with.
Anybody else? Don?
I would definitely agree with staff on the front end and say that, it definitely is priority, one of the number one priorities, but, just given the economic situation we're in, and when we don't quite know where this is going, I'm just wondering if it's, best just to see if we can put it off for just a bit until we know more.
With a month or two delay.
I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's definitely a top priority of ours. I just think we're in something that was totally unexpected, and I don't know that we know yet how long it's gonna last. And I wish we had a little bit more view as to how this is gonna play out. You know, I don't disagree with Jeff at all, the top priority of it is
Wait to make this call on the budget, or is that gonna be a?
I mean, the
So
consent.
you think the architect will hold off on it?
We couldn't hear you there, Jeff.
I was asking Russell, do we think the architect would hold off on it for a couple of months?
Sure, I mean, they're our consultant, they'll do whatever we ask them to do. Just-
Okay. All right. Might not be a bad idea to ask them if we think would hold off for a couple of months.
Something turns real bad and a couple of industries close, I mean, we hope that's not gonna be the case, but that could really affect some decisions. If there's a lot of money to be spent, we know it's needed. And we was made to look at something, cut something else out if we have to. Hopefully we don't have to, but maybe a wait and see, kinda a month, 2 months, revisit.
Or just put it 30 days at a time.
I was gonna say, wait a month, look at it, see how it feels, still don't feel comfortable, we can wait another 30 days, but, 30 days from now, we may be on the downside, everything's looking good, things going, we can roll with it. And I hate to put the taxpayer on a lot of, $3 million, and then, a lot of people don't have jobs.
Really high priority, we just, it's a balancing act, and I think just taking it 30 days at a time, let's just be mindful.
Does anyone have any other business before we go to a matter of executive, anything in executive? We don't have anything for executive?
I don't.
Okay, good. Anybody, comments, just for those watching, we can get through this, we're all in this together, and, that's it, Have a happy Easter. I know a lot of churches are having it online, and I really want to thank the community. I think for the most part, everybody's sacrificing, doing good, trying to stay safe. Businesses are being smart. Just continue to do that. We're going to make it through. We made it through some other stuff. We can make it through this. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right.
I like the barn coat. No, red coat. I got soaked in the rest of that. Supposed to be inside.